Hey folks, how are you guys doing tonight? Welcome to my whiskey den, where craft whiskey is king, and the home of your favorite public access whiskey review shows. As you can see, for the moment, we do not have our compatriot Jason from Mash and Drum. He is finishing up over at Whiskey She Wines with a blind tasting over there. We'll be over here momentarily. If you've ever seen our show, you know that we go over our hour time limit all the damn time. So that is completely understandable. But we wanted to talk to you about some other stuff that we have going on before Jason gets here. First off, and you may have seen this on Facebook and Instagram, other places, but we're going to go over what's going on for March 26th. And March 26th, we are having Heather Manley on from Crooked Water Spirits. And what we're going to be doing is tasting a 5-sample set that she has. It's tasting kit number 2 from Ace Spirits. Now, if you can't get this from Ace Spirits, it is something that we can help you get. What is included in the tasting kit? Excellent question. First off, it is the Crooked Waters, the Manley's Old Fashioned. So a pre-made Old Fashioned. The next one is the Old Hell Roaring. It's a double barrel straight bourbon whiskey. Then they have the Abyss Gin. That's a Navy strength gin. The Regatta Rye that we reviewed last year. And then the Blue Grand vodka. And what is cool about the vodka is that it is aged in French oak barrels. So you have one of the more pristine, like vodka. It's clean. There's not a whole lot of excitement there. So you're going to be getting a lot of the barrel note through that. So you're going to be able to actually taste a little bit more of what French oak. Yeah, Mike, what is it?
Yeah, way to sell it. Way to sell it.
Hey, that is vodka.
It's just vodka.
But I mean, it's getting the barrel note. For me, when I was tasting it, the way my mind went was that you're going to be able to taste more of like what a French oak tastes like if you are having a hard time picking that up in whiskey. So it's a good way to like figure out what the barrel notes are for it. Now, we figured it's a Friday night. We're going to be drinking a few. That's at least 5. We should have some mixed drinks because I don't know the best way to use gin all the time. I mean, we just started playing with it. So we figured let's do a mixed drink with the gin. So we're going to be doing the mint condition, where that one is you use 2 ounces of the gin, which is all the samples you're getting are 2 ounces. So you use the gin, some fresh lime juice, a little simple syrup, 2 dashes orange bitters, and some large mint leaves. Really easy, pretty simple drink. We'll see where that. And we are also going to have a drink that we're doing, the Quiet Night. This one is really neat and a little bit different. You get the Old Hell Roaring bourbon, then you add like a half ounce of mezcal. And if you don't have mezcal, which is kind of like a smoky tequila, if you've never had it before and you don't want to go out and buy a bottle of it, try like a smoky scotch or something else you have that has a little bit of smoke to kind of add that in there. Preferably something without the medicinal note, and it would be preferable. Some syrup, some orange bitters, 3 drops of vanilla extract, and the orange peel. These are going to make some really, really interesting drinks besides the old fashioned with what we're tasting and kind of going forward with that. So if that is something you want to join us for on the 25th, spending the whole, basically a night, because we said when we're having 6 drinks, we're going to have to space that out a little bit. So she's coming on at 7. We're starting a little early, but we're probably going to go a couple hours with it as we discuss everything that's going on. So if that's something you want to do, get a hold of Mike, Ben, or I in an email. It's down there in the discussion and chat and stuff. Let us know, and by the end of the week, it will be able to get that shipped out to you, so you'll be ready for the show on the 26th. So definitely stop in on that one. Now, we do have another thing to talk about here while we're waiting. Is Ben, why don't you talk about what you just did and what's coming to fruition from that?
We've got some minis of 1970s Old Crow. So they were bought out when they were originally with the National, and it's just everything you read about or hear about from the older Old Crow bourbon. It's absolutely spectacular. And so we're going to have 6 mini bottles, and we're going to be giving away a couple of those here in the stream. And when we prepare to open those and sample, you can come on and sample those with us. So something to keep an eye out for, and we'll announce when we're going to be doing the giveaway on that.
Yeah, and that'll be really fun. We know it's not craft, but it is a cool way to test different ages that you're not going to have from a craft distillery. They haven't been around for 30, 40, 80 years. You're not going to get to taste the evolution of flavors that happen with that and over time. So this is an excellent way to do that, because a lot of people look, I would say, to be honest, they look down on Old Crow or just as like a base whiskey. But it really, for what it is, it's pretty solid at where it is now, you know. What? Oh, Eli.
Damn thing wrong with Old Crow.
Yeah.
So right now, let's say hi to everyone in the chat. Eli, it's good to see you. Emily, I see you in there. We got, Oscar said he was going to try to keep up with what we were all drinking tonight, so I hope you do try to do that. John Gunstel, good to see you. Always wondering how the Crowded Barrel is doing down there, and if you were able to make it to work actually this week. Kevin, good to see you. Ice House, all you guys, thank you very, very much for stopping in here this evening. And let's flip this over here. And now let's talk about one or two other shows we have coming up while we're waiting for Jason. First off, it's tomorrow night. Fuck, not even waiting any time. We're rolling right into tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, Fred Swanson and Adam Casey are going to be coming on. We're going to be talking about Distill America. That is another cool event that we're trying to help promote. It's going to be $20, and over a week's time span, you're going to get access to 8 different sessions, or basically something like we do, where they're going to be talking to different distillers and people at distilleries to kind of help pull you in a little bit further. And now the other cool thing that they're doing as well is that if you own a business, you can actually get access to some of those streams to help bring people in to have sample tastings and stuff as it's going on. So they're revamping an entire event and whiskey festival to try to be able to have you do it at home. And learn some neat stuff. And they're not keeping an ounce of the $20. Everything they do goes to charity. They're going to be helping everyone all the time, and it's going to be a really, really neat thing. It's something I'm going to want to stick into and kind of hop onto. And I think it's the 13th through the whole next week is when they have certain different people coming on, and we'll save them to let them talk about some of the excitement that they're having there. Because they are having some good guests. I know St. George is going to be on there, and I think Mike and I had stuff with St. George last year, and they were pretty damn tasty. A few things we tried.
I'm hearing a lot of good things about St. George.
I'm going to bring Jason on. Poor Jason's getting run through the ringer tonight. He's been doing a tasting over at Eye Whiskey She Wines, like I said. So I know you've already had 5 or 6 drinks. So we don't want to
but little sips. I'm not like chugging anything, so I'm okay.
Tank.
Yeah, Frank the Tank.
So we were just telling them about a couple things we had coming up, Jason. Now I know you were working with Scott over at Mash and Drum on have you guys sold out of your release of whiskey, your very first barrel pick you guys did, or is that gone already?
Oh, the Mash and Journey pick, yeah, that's that is closed up. We had a first initial offering of 90 bottles, and we broke that in the first day. Nice. We got up to 120 a couple days later, and then we're capped at 160, which we went past as well. So yeah, we're sold out.
Well, that's fair. If it hadn't happened, people should do that, because it did sound like a pretty fantastic barrel pick. So. Yeah,
it's really unique in the fact that we got so much support from everyone, especially when you're looking at a whiskey that was from a new label, Rye 3, which not a lot of people know about, but it's coming from a blender in Matt Witzig that, he's got hell of credentials. He's got a crazy rap sheet, working with Nancy Fraley on the first 14 cigar blends. So the guy knows how to fucking blend. So, we did not know we were going to be making a proprietary blend. He kind of sent us some stuff. He's like, just try this and try that and blend this and see what you think. And then when we came to the final blend, which was the last barrel that we selected, It absolutely blew us away. For a rye whiskey to have that sort of complexity and that sort of like, it just takes you on such a ride of flavors. It's we cannot wait for people to get their hands on it. So, yep.
Excellent. Definitely do that. Now let's see here. You know what? You just got here. Let's do the intro for the people that weren't here.
Sure.
Just for a split second.
Let's do it.
Let's get into it. 1, 2, 3.
All right. Now, what we were doing tonight is Mike and Ben had sent Jason some craft whiskey samples. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Hey.
Before you start rambling, lest we
up.
forget.
Go ahead.
Happy fucking birthday, Alan Bishop.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, shit. It's his birthday today?
Yeah, that's right. Sorry.
It is.
There you go, Alan. There's one for you.
That's right.
There you go, Alan.
In solidarity with the shotgun.
Yeah, he was on the show last week, and I couldn't have been more excited to have him on and talk to him. The dude is an absolute rock star when it comes to his knowledge of distilling and the history and his whole. I mean, everything that he does. I cannot wait to go there and meet him in person at some point.
Yeah, it's something we're looking forward to, and he's doing some really nice stuff. So it was funny when we tried some of the stuff early last year, and then we're like, "I really like this. Thanks for coming on the show." He's like, "Oh, this is nothing. Just hold on and wait." I'm like, "Well, that's a big statement." No matter what,
he was right.
And he was
everything
right,
that's come out has been
everything that I've tasted that's come out of that distillery has been. I mean, and you could say what you want about the. There is somewhat of a youthfulness to it, but it makes up for it in flavor. The mouthfeel on this shit is amazing. I mean, it is so creamy and so viscous, and the stuff he's putting out, it's incredible. And when this stuff gets of age, and when this stuff starts getting to that 6-7 year range, oh my God, the sky's the limit for Spirits of French Lick.
Mm-hmm.
That's what was impressive for us, I think, like with the Matty Gladden, when we were doing our craft whiskey of the year thing, lining them up, and it went toe to toe with, for me, for 7 or 8 cast strength whiskeys. And the fact that 100 proof could stand up to those cast strength whiskeys in nose and palate was just astounding. So,
yeah, same here.
All right. Now, Mike and Ben had sent you some samples.
Jesus.
Well, they yelled at me like, "What did you send them?" I'm like, "I read the list, and if you're trying to make them go through it, we're not." I want to kill the guy, It's not fun. But are there any of them in there that you saw that kind of caught your eye, or think that you want to talk about, or you want to?
Yeah, absolutely. So I picked out 4 different distilleries. Wood Hat, Bloody Butcher, Red Cask Strength, because I just love different. I love Bloody Butcher corn. Some of the stuff I've done, and I've talked to with Iron Root Republic Distilling.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of schooled me a little bit on what Bloody Butcher corn, some of the notes and the proprietary type of textures it gives whiskey, the nuttiness. It's got less sugar. It's got more starch. It's got a little bit more stuff that's kind of wrapped in it to give it certain types of flavors. I was really interested in that one. ASW Distilling, Fiddler, Georgia. And the only reason why I picked out that one is because I've heard so much about ASW lately, but I haven't tried it yet.
Okay.
Next was Cat's Eye 8-year Polish rye whiskey, because, I mean, yeah. Obtainium has been a name that I keep hearing. I've gotten some samples of their light whiskey, which I think is delicious. So hearing 8-year Polish rye definitely piqued my interest. And number 4 was one that you guys talked about a little bit, was the Far North Roknar, 100% rye, batch 12, 47% ABV. So that's the 4 I chose.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's solid.
Solid lineup.
The Roknar, not to try to push you into 5, But I sent you the cognac finish one too. And if you try the two of those back to back.
All right, let me get that one. Hold on. Oh, here it is. Cognac finish. Roknar.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
All right. Since you were interested about the Bloody Butcher from Wood Hat, that's right in Mike's backyard.
Yes, it
I won't
is.
even talk. I'll be quiet for a little bit. Oh, this fucking cork is on here. Oh.
Wood Hat is it's pretty. It's a very interesting small distillery. The owner of it, Gary, he's a freaking trip. I mean, he's one. You get him and Alan together talking about grains and stuff. I just got glassy eyed listening to the two of them talking about critters getting into their corn while they're doing experiments. And but Gary literally makes everything. He did time in the Peace Corps, and it shows like all the ways that he does stuff. But he worked for Independence Day for like, I don't know, almost 20 years. So he knows them all, and he knows a lot of secrets.
Yeah.
And he also has 60 different types of blue corn, just blue corn on his property.
And
it's amazing the types of corn. I had no idea until I got into the whiskey game, like what exactly all the different types of corn varietals there are: purple corn, blue corn, yellow corn, just the different types of yellow corn.
Yeah.
Oaxacan corn, Bloody Butcher corn. I mean, there's so much that adds to a flavor of a whiskey. It's incredible. So what should we start with, Mike? Should we do the cognac or do the regular Roknar to try first?
I'd do the regular before you do the cognac.
All right,
because it's a pretty noticeable difference.
Okay.
Now, Mike Swanson is up at Far North Spirits. Most of these people are all pretty much drained to glass themselves. The family, I don't remember if they were in a state farm, but I was going to say that they grow everything themselves. They even do some maltings on some of the ryes that they do. But he wanted to play with all sorts of different types of rye. So he has a different acre. He has 15 different acres, and each acre is growing a different rye. And they'll put out a new project every year and then kind of play with it afterwards.
I'm loving this on the nose so far. The 100%. This is all just rye bread and honey butter. Holy shit!
Now wait till you hear the age on this, but I'll let you try it first.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this a go. Wow, that came off way more fruity on the palate than I thought it was gonna. Oh my God, what is that flavor I'm getting? Black licorice. Slight black licorice there. Wow. Not in a bad way though.
Yeah.
I hate black licorice because my Italian family.
High five, man.
My Italian family shoved Sambuca down my throat at a very young age, and I hated it. But this is more like if you've ever had a Jelly Belly, the Jelly Belly jelly bean, that's black licorice, where it is black licorice, but it's a little bit sweeter.
Yeah.
That's what I'm kind of getting on this one. It's pretty good. I could handle that. What's up, AJ Lopez?
He's hiding out in the chat. As always at this point.
So tell me, at Far North, are they grabbing their own grain? How's that working?
Yeah, they're an actual farm distiller. So he's growing most of his own stuff. And then what you're going to find interesting, what are they, about 30 miles south of the Canadian border? So I mean, they're right up there, the northern top of Minnesota. Yeah.
Oh, so they're grabbing the cream of the crop when it comes to rye grain.
Right. So think about the climate where they're at.
Yep.
He's using small barrels, I think 15 and maybe 30 gallon size barrels. Yeah. And the rye is aging for 18 months.
18 months?
18 months.
That's insane. That's got a ton of flavor for 18 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just their so-called normal rye. He's got all these ones from his Seed Vault series that are I haven't been able to get a hold of any of those yet, but I don't know if you have been, but I know
Not yet.
Wheels, who I don't know if you
Wheels.
recognize him in the chat. Wheels has picked up a ton of them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was gonna say they.
And the more I sip on this, the black licorice goes away, and it makes way for a little bit more of a like a weird mix of like herbal and like mint and cotton candy type flavors.
I get a lot of lemon oil off of those.
That's really nice. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of citrus in there too.
Yeah, and Mike's he's
Wow.
he's fun with his stuff, and they're very serious about the soil as well too, because it is like extra deep black soil, but the growing season is so short. They have to pick things that work with inside that climate.
Yeah.
So what they're picking is some pretty neat stuff, and they have gotten a few other things to survive, but they didn't quite thrive the way he wanted them to. But when you're trying stuff, sometimes you got to throw stuff against the wall and see what happens.
All right, so I jumped to the cognac finish just to try the noses.
Yeah.
Oh my god. The cognac finish is chocolate covered blackberries. So much chocolate. Holy crap.
Yeah, the cognac torqued that one pretty good in a good way. I liked. I mean,
Yeah, it's. I mean, you still get the rye grain. I still feel like there's when Danny said the lemon, there's still a little bit of lemon there, but the chocolate and the red berry notes that you get from this cognac are really complementing that raw rye grain, especially being 18 months old.
Mm-hmm. This is nice. I get to drink it. I don't have to be in charge too much tonight.
Wow. And it's so amazing. The cognac really mellowed it out too. There's not really there's not the bite that you get on the regular 100% rye at all. It really mellowed it out, rounded out the rough edges. Ooh. I don't know which one I like more.
Yeah.
It's just amazing for that kind of age in that climate to pull those kind of flavors and it not come across as just overly youthful in any way.
Well,
that's impressive. I would buy a couple bottles of that one. Shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's good grains, tight control of the process, and knowing what the hell you're doing.
What kind of distillation are they doing? Is this pot, column? What are they doing?
That one, I believe, is a pot still where it is.
I think it's pot.
Yeah.
The creamy mouthfeel would make me think pot still, but I know sometimes rye is tricky. You never know.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to ask for AJ if you enjoyed the Ironroot Ichor. I'm supposed to stop rambling.
The Ironroot Ichor, yes, that's probably that's probably the second best Texas whiskey I've ever had.
Yeah, that thing's totally full of flavor. So
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And we have some of theirs, but that's not fair. We know you've tried some of their stuff, so it's not like you're giving anyone new with what they're doing. A lot of their stuff, it's just good. They're one of the craft distilleries that we look at, and like almost everything they put out is of really good, if not exceptional quality every time. It's like you don't hit a low light at any point, and
there's something to be said about the way they use the brandy distillation, the way they use that cognac distillation in order to craft their Texas whiskeys. It just has a different something about it when you compare it to other whiskeys from Texas. It's a little bit, I don't know, it's more, for lack of a better term, it just seems more elegant to me than like the punch you in the throat, in your face. Like if you compare it to, like a cowboy bourbon. You know what I mean?
Just where you're getting shook or slapped around from it right away.
Yeah.
Right? It's not that we don't like that.
Yeah, it's a little bit more elegant. It's a little bit more elegant, a little bit more nuanced, and something from like Garrison for sure. But some people like being punched in the throat.
Well, there's a time for everything.
Yeah. Eli Cook, what's number one? Actually, number one is probably the Ironroot. I hate to keep going back to Ironroot, but 2 years ago when we were all there for Bastards Ball before the whole COVID pandemic, all the YouTubers got together and got to pick a YouTube Ironroot barrel pick. And that was the most it was the most unlike Texas, but Texas like bourbon I've ever had. It had such amazing nuance to it, and it was pretty unanimous across the board. All of us picked it. I mean, I'm talking myself, Scotch Test Dummies, it's Bourbon Night, Bourbon Junkies, Roy from Aquavite, Eric Way. I mean, you name it, they were there, and we all pretty much unanimously picked this barrel. It was incredible stuff, and I still have a wee little bottle of it left.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Ooh, I gotta turn this off. Now, let's see here. Where do you want to slide to next?
I'm relying on you guys. I told you my 5 here. I have the Cat's Eye, the ASW, and the Bloody Butcher Corn that I picked out. What do you want to go to next?
I would think
I'd
the
say
ASW.
that Polish at the end.
Yeah,
Save
the Polish for the end.
Polish at the end, okay. Yeah. I don't know. That scares me a bit, but okay.
I think the ASW is probably the one I would go with. It would go.
All right,
with
ASW. So this is the Fiddler Georgia Heartwood, single barrel, 58.8% ABV. All right.
That one is on Ben.
Holy shit, that's dark.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at this. I'll show that if it focuses on it. How dark that is. Ooh.
That's nice. And
Nice.
Ben, was that your bottle?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was going to say,
So this is a single barrel cast strength.
So why have I been hearing so much about ASW lately? What is it with them?
shorter time frame again. A lot of time of their stuff is about 2 years, maybe 4 years at most. A lot of it's twos. You're getting a lot of neat malts that they're actually doing. The one of theirs that I've had that I like the best was the Maris Otter, 100%. They did that one earlier this year as like a special release.
Okay,
that one I thought was my favorite of everything they've done. They're using unique grains, and it's just they're coming out with things that have really nice mouthfeel and some depth to it. And I believe, I forget, Scotch Trooper.
Scotch Trooper worked there for a while.
Worked there for a while as well too.
Yeah.
And I was going to say we saw that unfortunately here recently, and if you can go donate to his family, please do, because that's just
absolutely
yes.
Yep.
That's terrible, not fun, and definitely do that if you get a chance to. I'll put the link up in the chat and down on below here in a little bit. But they're just doing me stuff. But Ben, you are closer to them, and you have had more of the stuff than I have of theirs.
Yeah, I've been really impressed. The Maris Otter was the first thing I tried of theirs, and the more I've gotten to explore, just the better they get. Yeah, I mean, and the Maris Otter set a really high standard for an American single malt. But the Fiddler, this one is a wheated bourbon. And what they're doing with this, and again, they're doing pot distillation. They're taking heartwood cut from Georgia white oak, and they're toasting it and adding it to the barrel as staves. So it's almost like a double. I don't say a double barreled effect, but you're getting the barreling plus the effect of the toasted staves of the Georgia heartwood. So this one's got a lot of nice oak presence to it.
That's interesting because I'm getting a slight marshmallow note on here,
Yes.
which usually clues me into something toasted, usually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, big marshmallow note on this one for me as well.
I didn't think Ben sent me that one. Got the Duality double malt.
It's kind of a
this
nice,
one I
like,
think is coming in the next sampler for you.
there's a really nice like marshmallow maple syrup combo going on in this on the nose at least. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go for a sip of this one.
Yeah.
It may sound familiar, John. they had it in a barrel first, I think. I'm pretty sure.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Wow, that is such like rich, like caramel, toffee, burnt. So it went from like a nice toasted marshmallow on the palate. It's more of like a burnt marshmallow.
That's what I got too. And Dave's right. We feel the same way with him. And like every time we try something, stuff's getting better. And it's not going down in quality. I'm like, and that's kind of what you want to see from someone is like, yeah, your 2-3 is getting good, but every time you put out something else that little bit longer, that extra's just torquing it to where you want it to go.
Mm. Oh,
Oh.
I could drink that all day.
Yeah.
That is like, that's, it reminds me of, this might sound weird, reminds me a little bit of Woodford Double Oak, but with like way more bite to it.
Right.
I can see that.
Like if you took Double Oak and just added some more fucking proof to it, as like we all wish they would do, but they won't. And just, you know, and maybe a little bit younger, you got a little bit of that bite, a little bit of that youthfulness to it, but at the same time, that toast and marshmallow, the caramel on this thing and the toffee is so rich. Holy shit. I need me some of this.
I'm getting this. I get this dark orange note too. That to me kind of rounds out some of that marshmallow and toffee and caramel and all that.
It's interesting you say that because I wasn't getting
orange.
I wasn't getting orange off the bat, but as this has opened up, a little bit of a citrus note. Now you say burnt orange. I guess that's maybe that's what it is. Man, this is just chocolate toasted. It's s'mores. It's fucking s'mores with maybe a little orange rind dusted on there.
Yep.
That's delicious, guys.
Oh,
Wow.
good.
That's impressive. I like the far north stuff, but this ASW is holy shit. That's really good.
And how old is that one, Ben?
I haven't seen an age statement on this.
If you say
less
less
than 2 to 3 year range. Yeah.
If you say less than 18 months, I'm walking out. What is it?
Yeah. It's in the 2 to 3 year range. You usually
2 to
don't
3
see
years?
beyond 3
Okay.
years for them.
All right. Yeah, I mean, to get this color, it's had to have. But I mean, you did say do they do like a maker's mark type thing where they're adding staves to it and letting it sit in there for a little while?
Yeah.
That's exactly what they're doing. Yeah, they're cutting. They're using local Georgia white oak, and they're
kind of
cutting
like
the
Gary
hardwood out
Allen
of it.
or Westland's doing.
Okay.
Yeah. And they're toasting and charring it themselves, and then adding those to the barrel.
Wow. Do you guys have a contact there? I got to talk to these people. Holy shit.
I've reached out so far, so I'm waiting to hear back because we'd love to have them on the show sometime.
This is
So
there's a smokiness to it that I'm getting, that I'm picking up on the nose as well. Like a nice little barrel char that's coming through. Again, it's more of a fresh campfire. Little smoke, but I mean that chocolate s'mores graham cracker combination is, man, I'm fucking pouring the rest of that shit.
they've got everything
and
that we've had from them has been great. I mean, we've had all the Maris Otter, we've had that, and I haven't sent the other guys this one here. Maybe I have, but they got this Tire Fire, which is like, it's almost like young Lafroig, but and it's just. It's
So
not
is that
totally
more
rough.
So is the Tire Fire? So the thing that I've noticed through craft American single malts, whenever they do something peated, it comes across as campfire rather than peat smoke. So what would you classify the Tire Fire?
Oh, this has a little like a little more. You're like, it's like the Great Springfield Tire Fire going on. It's like there's something that's burning and it's not good for me.
Kind of more in the spring bank category of things.
That's what I was
So
going to say.
is it like a rubbery, like funk type smoke?
Yeah, so it's a rubbery, funky peat. But it's not overly done. It's not peated for the sake of just being obnoxiously peated, but it's kind of nice where you could tell this is American. It's not Scottish, but that it's got a nice peat. I can imagine if they really went crazy with some of their stuff, they could probably come up with something that was just creamy and peaty and just knock your socks off.
I'm loving this. I'm loving this ASW. If anyone out there watching that has not tried this shit, I mean, it's on my personal opinion, it's really good. I mean, this is probably one of the few. I'm not going to say it's toasted because that kind of falls into a different connotation. But if you're taking those different staves and you're putting it in here to kind of alter the flavor a little bit, I've only had a couple of maker's marks of the private selects that I would say fall into this category of being that, good and delicious without overpowering sometimes you get those staves and it actually turns the whiskey a little bit bitter, which is something I don't like with toasted barrels a lot. I got that a lot in the Elijah Craig one where it took me down to it needed to get about halfway down the bottle to open up in order for me to kind of get past that bitterness. And then it got, really palatable at that point. This one just being all, marshmallow, graham cracker, a little bit of chocolate, and then a little bit of that smokiness to it. It's literally like drinking a s'mores. It's really delicious.
This has been one of my favorite bourbons for 2021 so far that I've had.
Yeah, I could see why, man. I could see why, man.
And
they're playing around.
I was going to say, you're talking about the Tire Fire and their Maris Otter and the single malts they do. What they do different is they're taking the mash and they're distilling it on the grains. Typically, when you do a malt, you lauter it, so you're just pulling the liquid off. You're leaving the grain bed behind, and you're distilling the liquid. Well, they're distilling it with the grain. So that's, I think, some of the extra flavor they're getting in there.
Oh, Hendo is a big fan of ASW. Well, he's in Georgia, so yeah, I could see why. That's delicious. I mean, my cousin lives in Georgia. I'm gonna go have her hunting like tonight.
Well, and they'll play with other stuff too. Like when we used to say craft, we want people to be doing something like a little bit extra than just kind of the standard. Like they have another one that was Duality, where it's 50% malted rye and 50% cherry wood smoked. So they're starting to play with stuff and see what happens with what they're doing. Yeah. And experimentation is always great. Yeah.
So is the Fiddler Heartwood, is that a standard release, or is this just a single barrel version?
They have the standard release, the Fiddler, and this is just a single barrel version. This was a seal box pick.
Oh shit. Okay. Damn, that's delicious. That's even after the Bobby and Sam's blind tasting, it was probably the best thing I've had tonight.
I figured that would be right up your alley on this one. So
yeah, man, you nailed it. That's really good. It's got so much complexity, and the more it sits, the more like campfire smoke I'm getting on it. This is pure, taking me back to like cooking s'mores over a campfire on this one. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm.
Let's see.
Wow, that Polish rye better bring it after that thing.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Imagery of Unleash the Gimp is coming to mind.
That's right. Yep.
That does not make me feel hopeful.
You know what? I'm gonna go back. I saved some of that for some whiskey of the year shit. I may just have to break that back out later.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna go to the wood hat next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, that's Mike's neck of the woods.
This is 60.8. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a Bloody Butcher red corn cast strength corn whiskey.
And Scott, yes, it was the Fiddler, but it was aged. What was the wood again, Ben?
It was a Heartwood.
Heartwood.
Yeah.
Is there any of this left
staves.
anywhere? Oh no, this was
I believe Sealbox.
Sealbox sold out.
As far as the last, the last time I looked, they still had it. So check it.
You guys are. I'm sorry, but I'm looking right fucking now. Sorry.
Hey, that's what the show is for. That's what's supposed to fucking happen.
Yeah. All right, ASW. Let's see here. See what we got. Okay, it's the Tire Fire. Nice.
Yeah.
Fiddler Georgia Heartwood. There it is.
There's an ASW sampler. I don't know what's in it, but they have one.
So what's the duality? Tell me about that one.
That one is the one. Is that the one I have? Nope, that's not the one I have. That Ben, you'd have to know that one. Sorry, I don't have.
Yeah, I got duality. It's malted rye and malted barley in a blend. But they've got two different ones. There's a standard, and then there was a
single barrel with a cherry. Yeah, the single barrel has the cherry smoked malt with the malted rye.
ASW Distillery Fiddler Georgia Heartwood Bourbon, but it doesn't say single barrel. So is that the one, or is that regular release?
That may be the regular. It should be a seal box pick.
Okay.
It's not.
Oh, ASW Steel Box Select. Okay, let me see these
There you
here.
go.
Duality. They have a duality pick.
It's not bad.
Wow. Yeah, that shit is real. That's really good. It's really good stuff. Oh, there's another page. I didn't see that.
There's just more and more to buy.
Yeah, Steelbox tasting.
Welcome to My Whiskey Den, where we're shopping for whiskey tonight.
That's right.
Rye. Oh, that's sold. Oh, it's all sold out, guys. It's gone already.
It's gone. Dang.
Yeah.
It was close.
That's really good though. Thanks for sharing that one because I'll savor that one. That's really good. That's gonna be my my midnight pour tonight.
I feel like you're going to be editing at some point there. It's just with how much you do and how good a quality of everything you put out. I feel like you might still be up later tonight, or hopefully you're not shooting more shows.
Thanks, man. No, I'm actually I finished my editing last night. I just got a new computer, which is good because it's actually way faster and I can pump out more content. So I'm actually going to be doing a review of Penelope Bourbon tomorrow for Wednesday. And then I think later in the week, you'll see at some point I'm doing the entire Spirits of French Lick lineup.
Nice.
I also have a Dickel Single Barrel 15. I'm going to be doing best bourbons to start your bourbon collection for $300 or less. That
That'll
video
be interesting.
Yeah. And I didn't just like pick like bourbons that I thought were good. I picked bourbons that you could tell a story with it. So I didn't just pick bourbons that I thought were like, okay, just grab this because it's good, grab this because it's good. If you're going to have a collection and start with like $300, like what are those bourbon selections going to be? If a friend of yours comes over and says, okay, you bought $300 worth of bourbon, why did you buy this one? I want to be able to explain to them why I chose this one because each bourbon I selected kind of has a different place in history. So that's how I made my select. I mean, some of them are just good, but some of them kind of lead up to it's kind of a historical timeline of bourbons that I selected for the list.
And a lot of times that will help tie people to the bourbon too. Like
Exactly.
Drinking it makes it that much more exciting when you're doing it, when you understand everything that happened to make it come to you.
And that's personally what I want. I just don't want people to buy bourbon because they just want to collect bottles. I mean, you see a lot of that out there today, unfortunately, but I want people to get bourbon in order to, enjoy it and share it, talk about it, learn where it came from. I mean, it's one of the oldest spirits ever created. And, it goes back to the 1700s. It needs to be talked about in that fashion and enjoyed and shared and appreciated. So.
Ooh. So.
Oh, Bloody Butcher Corn. Here we go. Wow, way different nose.
Yeah.
I don't think I have that one, so I'm going to switch to the Bloody Dapper, which takes a little bit of the Bloody Butcher and uses it in a blend. But Gary's a trip. He is a wealth of information and knowledge. And when we had him on the show, it was like, go. And it was like 2 hours later.
Yeah.
And the whole time,
I love interviewing guys. Like I had that experience at Peerless with Caleb, the master distiller there, Caleb Kilburn.
Mm-hmm.
You just ask him a question and then just hit play and let him go.
Yeah.
He will just talk for hours, give you all the information you need, and it's amazing. I mean, the dude's like 22 years old, and he's a genius when it comes to distilling and the process of it.
Yeah. Yeah, if you ever have a chance to talk to Gary, I highly suggest it.
And hey, Fred Swanson's in the chat. Good to see you. And yes, if you didn't know, we'll be talking with Fred and Adam Casey tomorrow night about Distill America and how they're doing that this year. So Stop in tomorrow night so you can learn about that because that's going to be a really cool event. It's only $20, and they give everything to charity. So it's definitely one
that's amazing.
Well, and they also, if you guys even know any place down there that wants to be a part of it, they want to start getting some of the ability to show that to actual businesses or restaurants so that it can cause people to come in. Maybe they can give a tasting lineup. Well, you can watch what's going on throughout the week when they have some of the people on. So if you know anyone like that, it's a wonderful thing to kind of help stir up local business and be excited about whiskey, because Distill America is by far my favorite whiskey event, just hands down. So just being able to keep it going and moving till we get to get back there and have fun like we did a couple like last year is definitely worth waiting it out. So and helping them get there. So
that's awesome. Absolutely. All right, so this Bloody Butcher Red smells like honey bunches of oats with almonds.
It's breakfast whiskey.
I equate a lot.
Exactly.
If you guys have watched my reviews, I equate a lot of stuff to food.
We do that too.
Yeah. Same here. That's because I'm
We're a
heavy.
bunch of fat guys, so
That's right.
We had
Fat
Kevin
guy
Rose
whiskey
on it.
reviews.
yeah.
I know, we put it back like
Whiskey
fat
Crusader
people
Will's
here.
in the house. What's up, Will? How you doing, buddy?
Oh, hey, man. That's good. And when we're done with this, make sure to stop over there. They're having their 2-year anniversary stream later this evening. So make sure you stop over and
I'm sure
see
they
them.
got some good drams lined up.
Hey, man, you go on their show, though, you got to be prepared because that's
Yeah.
13 to 27 drinks you're having on their stream.
Yeah, I love when Matt sends, like, if you saw the stream with Shelf Turds, when it's like we're gonna do a tasting, and he sends you about 18 whiskeys to taste.
Yeah.
And by the time you're done, you can't tell if you're drinking whiskey or milk.
Patrick can identify with that pretty well.
Yeah,
Yes.
I ended up eating a pound of bacon. I sent him some Wisconsin whiskeys, and I had like a pound of bacon. And Matt just called the day before. We went over, and he added like a bunch of stuff I had, and all of a sudden I'm like, I ate a pound of bacon, and I was pretty tipsy by the end. I was just trying to kind of hold on for the last 20 minutes.
Wow. I like the Bloody Butcher corn. Having it like straight without being blended in something, you can really get the nuances of that like corn varietal. There's a lot more nuttiness I think that comes through with a Bloody Butcher corn than sweetness.
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah.
And he does pretty much with all his grains that he does or corn, he'll cook a cornbread to see what he thinks it's going to taste like and get some of the flavors out of it before he moves further to see if the corn is good or not.
That's old school, man. That's Maker's Mark old school. Maker's Mark would freaking they made the old bread with the wheat to see if it would taste good before they made the whiskey. That's old school, man.
Yeah. He came on like a couple months ago and like showed us exactly how to do it, but he did it old school with like the Dutch oven and lighting up the fire and doing it.
There you go. Martha Samuels?
Yeah.
Making the bread with wheat in it. Holy shit! She's a genius.
This freaking grill that Gary made. I mean, like I said, he literally makes everything at the distillery. If they need something, he just makes it. He has this grill out there that's this massive sphere. It looks like a black Death Star. Like, and we're going. We know he made this. He had to make this thing. Well, he made it, and it had you open it up, and the grate obviously is a circle, but it turns around on a rotisserie.
Yeah.
And then we're like, well, tell us about how you made this grill. Well, he made it weigh 1,000 pounds because he didn't want 2 guys to be able to walk off with it. And it's just this massive metal structure, but it's so badass. It's like, that is one of the coolest damn grills I've ever seen.
But he's a wealth of knowledge with just oak and staves and getting some other people started behind the scenes. And it's just, he's very helpful to people. And Ben, you're muted, so I don't know what the hell you just said. You're mouthing stuff.
Yeah, I realize that. I'm trying to quiet some children in the background.
It's so good. I just like this because it's different. It's nutty. It's sweet at the same time. A little bit of a smokiness there too. Man, that's good. I've had Bloody Butcher red corn whiskeys before, and they haven't been this enjoyable, I would say, for just if I'm just like thinking off the top of my head, just this enjoyable. This is really nice.
One of the cool things about Gary too is the way he experiments with different wood in the barrel staves and all. He's using specifically like chinkapin oak, and then we've got there's one that he's put out called, is it Twin Timbers or Two Timbers? That's
Twin Timbers
Twin Timbers that he's using pecan wood
to finish in.
Yeah,
and you can it actually does take on some nice pecan notes from just the wood. I would have never thought it, but it really does.
That's awesome.
Okay, I'm excited. I'm getting a new glass because we're getting close to going over to the Polish.
I'm gonna pour the Polish here. Oh my god!
You can go Polish.
Here we go. Release the gimp.
Yes.
Phil
fingers tapping on his head.
So Ben, when we were like talking, I know you had a couple of questions about the channel, whatever. I mean, did you have anything you wanted to ask? When it comes to some of the stuff coming out of my channel at all, or I was just wondering.
Yeah, I mean, so what? What all? It's just, to me, it's amazing seeing where you progressed in the short time you have. I went back in I don't know a few weeks ago and watched some of your very early episodes. Yeah. I'm loving this facial reaction right now to nosing the rye, but just how you've been able to take this and develop your show, because really just from my personal perspective, it's one of the best out there. Your level of production, entertainment value, information value, and then you're just absolutely no nonsense, no bull, tell it like it is, basically. And you've been able to build just a huge following in that. So it's how all is that developed? I mean, has it been a surprising or amazing to you how well this has just taken off, and how you've been received by the whiskey community in general, or how do you see that?
I thank my lucky stars every day. I can't believe the support that I've received in the beginning. As you see the beginning videos, I mean, it was the only thing I had to play on that I wanted to do something different was to play on the history and the people behind the whiskey. Nobody was really doing that. There was some of that, I think, going on with Daniel and Rex. Daniel would kind of get into it, but Rex would usually kind of, back that down.
45 seconds of learning. That's it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You would get some of that from Daniel, then Rex would just be like, let's just taste the shit. Let's come on, enough. So yeah, I mean, my kind of niche was just to provide some and listen, I didn't know everything. I had to do a lot of research and figure it out. And I'm still doing research today when it comes to figuring out where these whiskeys are coming from. I mean, you guys know, we're tasting all these craft distilleries that are making amazing stuff. It seems like there's a new craft distillery or a new whiskey brand every other fucking week. It's really hard to keep up. Some guys I feel are doing it correctly. Some guys I feel like are doing it just to capitalize on the popularity of whiskey, unfortunately. And you see a lot of that with some of these. What's the one I reviewed recently? Blue Run whiskey. That's another Jim Rutledge project. Sourced bourbon from Barton. The bottle designed by some dude from Nike. Okay. It's $160. This has already come out, dude. You had Cream of Kentucky already. Like Barton,
right.
You did this already. Now we're just going to buy it again because it's in a different bottle shape. And there's a lot of this stuff going on with bourbon and whiskey in general. You have a lot of these guys coming out that know that bourbon and whiskey it's a moneymaker right now. People are buying anything that they can get their hands on just because of FOMO. And unfortunately, I think the guys like this that we're tasting that are doing stuff the right way with they're sourcing their own grain, they're distilling their own shit, they're aging it on their own. These are the guys that are going to sustain, hopefully, if they get more support rather than these one-off. You have these CEOs like, yeah, let's put out a whiskey and let's see what happens.
Right.
I mean,
well, I'm not bashing MGP. We had them on. They helped a lot of distilleries get on their feet. But
Yeah.
how many times can I see a remake of their 6 to 10-year-old bourbon in someone else's stuff and have everyone be like, yay? And I'm like, it's good, but like you said, there's 4 other versions of that same whiskey that didn't do anything.
The fact that guys spend 200, 250, 300, and sometimes 400 for MGP when MGP is fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
I can't comprehend it. I mean, it just doesn't. It blows my mind. MGP is everywhere, and guys spend incredible amounts of money to get their hands on single barrel versions of MGP. And I get that it's a single barrel. I get that they're unique to each barrel. Totally get it. But, I mean, when you have brands out there that are making stuff, I mean, MGP has their own damn brands. I talk about it all the time. Remix and some of those that are on the shelf. 11 and 12-year-old MGP for $80. That's sitting on the fucking shelf, and you guys want to pay $400? Have at it. You know,
yeah, well, that's like their, what is it, the Remus Repeal or Reserve?
Yeah, Repeal Reserve 4.
Yeah, it's $80, and I'm like, well, I can do
Mike,
that.
And Mike in the chat, it's a pretty butterfly though.
Yeah.
It is. It's a pretty butterfly, and it's a nice looking bottle. But I mean, come on. I mean,
well, I guess that's really kind of our take here on the show is you've got stuff out there like that where you're paying $300, $400 a pop for MGP, a single barrel, when you've got stuff being put out by some really good craft distillers right now, like what's sitting in front of you, that's for good grief, a tenth of the cost just about for some of them.
Exactly.
And why don't you take a chance and explore that?
Because people that want to spend the money on stuff, they only spend money on what they know. They know MGP, they know Buffalo Trace. Those are kind of the big buzzwords. That's what they chase, and that's what they're going to buy.
Right.
Stuff like this, that's amazing, and half, sometimes a quarter of the price if you're looking at MSRP compared to what secondary is charging.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no comparison. I mean, some of this stuff is so unique to try, and just a lot of people don't realize what's out there, unfortunately.
Where do you feel like the craft market is heading right now?
The craft market for me is the ones that I feel are going to be sustainable are the ones that are doing stuff like what we have in front of us. The guys that are they're growing their own grain, they're distilling their own stuff. Obviously, it has to come of age eventually. Will anything ever take over the Buffalo Trace machine? I'm not sure, because Buffalo Trace's marketing capability should be probably the marketing that every distillery in the world takes, because somehow they've built up this facade that, and not to say that their stuff is bad. I love Buffalo Trace and the stuff that they do, but when you're chasing, I always hate to bring it up, but when you're chasing like 6-year-old Blantons in a fancy bottle, when there's so much stuff that's so much better, it really does like make you think like, what is the hypnotizing effect that they have on people? And that could be anything from word of mouth. It could be anything from, I'm new to whiskey, I've heard Blanton's is super smooth and I'm not going to get any sort of burn from it. But there are other whiskeys that do that. My review for Ezra 99 today, I talked about that. It's very chocolate, very vanilla, a little bit of nuttiness, kind of that Heaven Hill quality, but not much of a long burn. Now, why should I pay $60 for a Blanton's when Ezra 99 pretty much gives me the same experience for a quarter of the price?
Right.
I think it's just a lot of it's just a lot of like non-education and people not knowing really what to chase. They hear from their friends what they should be finding. Somehow, or rather, Buffalo Trace gets wrapped up in, for newbies into bourbon and whiskey, Buffalo Trace, for whatever reason, has become the pinnacle of bottles that everybody needs to chase.
I think they made good stories with stuff at points, with some of the stuff they're releasing beforehand. Like when you get into the Van Winkle and stuff, even with the blends, it's just something, a lot of people talk about. Oh, it's really good. It's smooth. I was happy you mentioned it at 60, because hell, we'll have people like, should I pay $250 for it? No, go home. Don't Don't do
Yeah.
that.
And people don't realize that Blanton's used to be, back in the day, Blanton's was a 7, 8, 9-year-old bourbon. Now, because of the demand, we're looking at a 6-year-old bourbon in Blanton's that people are paying 60, upwards of 100, 150, and like Rambler said up there, $200 to $250 for a bottle of it, just because. And I really think you're just paying for the bottle of it.
It got me my first time. I'm not gonna lie. I spent $50 on it because I wanted the cool bottle and the horse. That's just
I think that happens to everybody. You get bit, you get bit by the horse right in the ass, and you don't know where to go next. So,
Donald's saying that Buffalo Trace is really the bourbon equivalent of the Empire in Star Wars.
I mean, it is, but in the same way, though, I mean, I would be if I was a distiller, even if I was Jim Beam, Heaven Hill, I would be envious of what Buffalo Trace has created.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, say what you want about anything they produce. Buffalo Trace has the ultimate, marketing strategy that every single distillery should employ, because their stuff it's both untouchable, and it's also both wanted so bad by anyone that gets into bourbon for some reason. And I think it's a lot to do with it is the Buffalo Trace flavor profile. I mean, it's all candy. Most of it is candy, sweet, not much of a finish at all, unless you're looking at some of the Buffalo Trace antique stuff. Even Buffalo Trace Mash Bill 2, which is their high rye. Like, really, you're probably looking at 12, 13, 14% of rye in Buffalo Trace high rye. When you have legit high rye bourbons like Bellmead or some of the stuff MGP's putting out with 30-something% rye whiskey out there, that's high rye. Not this bullshit, not this Buffalo Trace, 12% rye whiskey. Oh, it's going to give you a little bit of a burn, isn't it? Not really.
Well, I consider it's almost like the effect of kids growing up eating fast food, or all they ever eat is a chicken finger basket from Applebee's. And you take them to an actual gourmet restaurant to get real food with real flavor, and they don't like it. So having a Blanton's is like eating McDonald's chicken nuggets. And then having some
They're so not coming on our show.
Or I don't care, but having something like Alan Bishop puts out is like going to the gourmet restaurant, and you got all these fresh new flavors that you don't typically encounter in a whiskey. And for some people, it's like, I don't like it, because all I'm used to is just the sweet stuff. And,
what's the best example of a craft distillery that started out and completely blew up? In my personal opinion, I would go with Wilderness Trail.
They've absolutely
big time. I mean, Wilderness Trail was doing less than 50 barrels, a week, and then they completely blew up. Now they're doing a massive amount of production. Yeah, their whiskey has completely just transformed as it gets into that 6-year range. Absolutely delicious stuff, and still to me, just sits on the shelf, at least here in Ohio. There's just rows of it just sitting there, even at 6 years old. Same age as Blanton's, exact age. And for my money, I'm gonna go with the Wilderness Trail every time. It's just it's a much more richer, fuller, a little bit more of a rye spice bourbon. And Eli Cook, I love chicken fingers too. I'm gonna eat them.
That's one thing we've really found, especially this last year in particular with a lot of the craft whiskeys, is you've got guys like Alan. Okay, they put out all these bottled in bonds in 4 years. Yeah, and just take, for the people that will only read and watch Fred Minnick stuff, or nothing against Fred Minnick, but they'll take his word at it because they recognize his name. Alan's 4-year whiskey beat the hell out of a lot of other whiskeys and made it up to number 6 on his list in a blind. And that's just a 4-year whiskey from a guy from a feral distiller in Indiana that has this whiskey that he came up with this recipe when he was 15 years old. So imagine you got all these other craft distillers too that they're putting flavors in whiskeys that people haven't seen in God knows how long. and people are so strung up on, oh, that's got a 12 on it, at 12 years old, I'm going to buy that one. That's a 12, that's a 14, I got to buy that. Well, guess what? There's some of these other ones that are younger that you're in a position to see, you're seeing something grow up that is tasting so great at 2, 3, 4 years old, and you're here that you get to try it at 6, 8, 10, 12 years old. If all these people get to go on, and you get to experience all that stuff, and it's blowing the doors off of that stuff coming out of Buffalo Trace.
Oh my God, yeah, I absolutely agree, Mike. And when it comes to when you talk about craft distilling, now I'm gonna reference Michael Veach, who is the great bourbon historian.
Yeah,
he said all distilleries are craft distilleries. It just depends upon you, the drinker, in kind of claiming what you think is the epitome and the best example of what you think the bourbon craft is. You have big distillers, you have small distillers. Now, I've tasted through 4 of these craft distilleries tonight that I think are all unique. They're all delicious. And probably I would take some of these over some of the stuff that you find on the shelf from the big distillers. But they're all craft distillers if you think of it in that way. They're all making they're all crafting a specific type of whiskey or bourbon, whatever it may be, that's within their flavor profile. Now, it's up to us, it's up to you, the drinker, to figure out exactly what you think the best example of that craft whiskey is. So I don't see like craft whiskey, like, you call craft whiskey kind of, a newer distillery, and I get that part. But in essence, I agree with Michael Veach. They're all really craft distilleries in a way. Just some are able to pump it out a lot faster than others, honestly.
And when we were like looking at we did like a 2020 award show at the end of last year for craft distillers, and we even talked about it then, like expanding it different awards, because we're like, really, like blending in of itself as a craft.
Absolutely.
Like there is just even when people take, like, say the big brands where you're taking 400 or 500 barrels and bringing it, if you're even trying to get back to what it was, that's fucking amazing. I don't care what anyone says. That's incredibly, take different parts of this and land out at where you want it to be.
Exactly.
So we always say that, like, wherever you're at, like we had MGP on, they do great stuff. They do some really neat crafting of their whiskey. I think a lot of what we try to look at is people doing unique grains or a unique process, or like we had Todd Leopold on, and he built his own 3-chamber still that no one's used in a fucking 100 years. So someone doing like an extra unique thing. But yeah, you're exactly right. I think people have to learn to respect wherever it is along the line what happened to get it into your bottle, because there are some amazing people along the way making that.
Yeah, and I completely respect craft distilleries or smaller distilleries using different grains, using different types of distillation to stand out a little bit more. I mean, if we go back to, again, we're talking about Spirits of French Lick and their use of pot stills exclusively, and what they do to the whiskey itself. I mean, that's really different than anything you're going to get from any big brand producer. That's, I mean, these guys are using, 30-foot in diameter column stills. That, I mean, it's insane. But again, you have to look at the scale of what, how much juice these guys are producing. It's crazy. So, blending is an art. I totally agree. I learned that firsthand a few weeks ago when I had Nancy Fraley on, and she literally just blew my mind. We added like 2 drops of some 20-year-old to some other 11-year-old shit, and it just completely altered it, and I could not believe what was happening in the glass. It was amazing.
So now you got to try the cigar blend with her, right?
Yeah, we basically did cigar blend. I think it was 30 something. Okay. She basically sent us the Khmer, which is the mother blend, which is pretty much all the blends that all the cigar blends are based on. And then she sent us the other barrels that she adds to it to come up with that blend. And as we tasted through it, I mean, it was amazing how much it changes over the course of just a couple months.
And I think I asked you that night. Has she sent you the Family Reserve 2 yet? The one that's
not yet, but
Okay.
I'm actually in contact with her. She's going. I have to send her. I'm going to send her some of the Iron Root, some of those specialty blends that haven't come out yet, and she's going to send me that.
How does she not have those?
Yeah,
She's
Yeah,
got a
but
direct
it's-
line.
Robert and
Like,
Jonathan.
Yeah, I was talking to the Licorice Bros. I'm like, how have you not sent these to her? Come on,
Yeah.
guys.
She's got the ginger hotline. She should be able to get anything she wants.
I was
out of
gonna
this
say,
guy.
Exactly.
I remember we were talking to her when she was coming on, and she was working with Wyoming whiskey. She's like, "Well, I have 300 of their samples across my table right now. I feel like that's got to be it with everyone she works with. Is like, well, these people sent me 50, and this room has this. She's like, it is kind of like that right now. It's
I will say, from just any sort of interaction I've ever had with Nancy Fraley, she's a rock star. Absolutely.
Yes, she is. 100%.
Yep.
She's a national treasure.
She is. She's a national. She's right up there with Ron Swanson, I think. Right up there.
Yeah. It should be Nancy Fraley Day in the United States.
Yeah.
All right. Are you guys ready to get into the Polish rye?
Yep. And this one,
Into that rye, man.
No, I feel bad.
I'm a home distiller, a one-man show. It doesn't matter what I get right throughout the entire process. It can all come undone in the blending. It is exactly.
Yeah.
You can, I mean, look at some of the newer distilleries that put out. Even if you look at Scotch, Irish whiskey, all the realms of whiskey in general. I mean, you could have certain whiskey that you've distilled, and a lot of guys will, blend it with other stuff that they have to kind of round out the rough edges, to kind of lift other parts of the whiskey that are not coming through, to diminish some of maybe the bitter parts that are coming through that they don't want. It's a true art form, and one that I am still trying to. Blending for me has become a little bit more of a hobby, I would say. I've been experimenting with different blends and trying to take young whiskeys that I have and old whiskeys that I have and blend them. And I mean, obviously, I'm not taking anything straight off the still or straight out of a barrel that I could blend that I could really mess with. I'm just kind of taking stuff that I have and seeing what it does, and seeing if I could come up with a viable blend.
Hey, that's how it all comes together. We talked about that when we were like, hey, we'd love to have these three companies all work on a project, and then all of a sudden, like one Friday night, I'm like, drip, 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 drip. Here, I think I already found what we want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, you know about the Polish rye. You got this one.
Yeah.
Holy crap, that's really weird on the nose.
Yeah. So
Yeah, man.
So when they say it's Polish rye, it's actually this stuff was distilled in Poland.
All right,
The-
Mike.
the-
So Mike, school me on this. What's the deal with this whiskey? Holy crap!
So Cat's Eye Distillery, they're one of the guys that's associated with them, Gene Nassif. He has started the Obtainium, which he goes all over and finds different whiskeys all over the place.
Yep.
So this whiskey, it's an 8-year-old whiskey that was distilled in Poland by the Kazuba and Sons Distillery.
Okay.
But Kazuba and Sons has now relocated to Florida, and they actually supplied the rye for the last, I think it was the Bush rye for Crowded Barrel. I don't know when they moved to Florida, but Obtainium, they grabbed a whole bunch of these barrels of this Polish rye whiskey, and it is unique in many ways, and it's also 59.1% ABV. So it's not playing around at all.
No, and you could smell it. You could smell every little bit of that thing.
Yes.
Sorry. I was getting some of the smells I think you were, and they activate the same way in here, so.
Yeah. It is an aggressive rye.
I mean, this is the type of rye that wants you to pull your pants down before it kicks you in the nuts.
That's it, yeah.
It's even going to ask you that too.
I've got a cast strength Dad's Hat rye, and this makes the cast strength Dad's Hat give it its lunch money. It's
Yeah, this thing just got. I mean, that Dad's hat got pants in the schoolyard compared to this.
And don't you make it ask again.
Jesus.
Oh.
I've never smelled anything like this. This is insane.
What was that?
The rye.
I think the rye whiskey overheated your camera.
Yeah, I think so. Hold on. Let me switch my camera real quick. All right, I'm back.
It overheated it just for a second.
The Polish rye, the camera couldn't handle it.
Oh.
Wow.
All right, and John's saying they took the last barrel of the Polish rye they had at Crowded Barrel and aged it in ex-brandy, ex-stock ale barrels. Ooh, and they tried it last week, and only after 2 months it's getting pretty interesting. I bet that we'll start playing some pretty interesting things on that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Jason.
Oh no, you didn't cut me off. I'm just sniffing this shit. This is crazy.
Yeah, she holds you a bit on this one.
This is so different and interesting. I can't even. Oh, I'm trying to get a handle on this thing.
You don't get a handle on it; it gets a handle on you.
Yeah, for sure, man. Oh my gosh.
Ooh.
So it's extremely herbal. We'll definitely get the herbal, punch coming out of it. But wow, I don't even know where to begin with this thing.
It was dense. We sniffed it for probably 15 minutes before it started to really break out and stuff.
But then after a while, it's like you're sniffing. It's like you're huffing paint to try to get notes.
Yeah, it does have kind of a paint thinner thing going on.
Yeah. I know I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm going to keep doing it.
And then you start seeing things.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely get an herbal licorice note on this as well. Herbal black licorice, but there is an underlying sweetness to it, I must say. It's kind of nice. Ooh. That's funky on the nose. I'm going to try this shit.
Yeah, I found it to be rewarding. When you drink it, I found it to be rewarding. But.
All right, here we go.
Even I had a mini win still.
Oh, my God.
See? I was hoping you weren't watching me.
Wow, that is fucking weird.
And you can be honest, Jason.
Think about all the whiskeys you've already had tonight, and you just got into that.
Yeah,
and it's still kicking my ass. Whatever.
Yeah. And it's got to finish. It's got to finish. It just keeps on rolling, man.
Yeah. It's revenge for all the Pollock jokes that you told throughout your life.
It's the weirdest combination of licorice, mint, and wet cardboard.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, damp cardboard is a good one.
Yeah.
Damp cardboard, for sure. Oh my God.
Did I say something about the same thing, Mike, when I first tried it, when you gave it to me?
Yes. Yeah. There's just a certain mustiness to it. Yeah.
That is one of the funkiest things I've ever tasted. That's crazy.
But it's almost like when I drink it, it's almost like this is real. I don't know about this. I'm going to have more. It's just.
You did. You got me dill pickling this one, that and the light whiskey that they had that was 73% that night. I kept going back, and then all of a sudden, an hour after the show, I was watching TV and I started get drunk and have the sweats. I'm like, what the hell is happening? No. I was like, I had a bunch of 70% alcohol tonight.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely some dill here. The black licorice is still there. I mean, I'm very sensitive to black licorice, so I'll pick it up in anything, just because I grew up hating it. Man, That is one of the weirdest things I've ever tasted.
I think, and that's kind of went with that one too, as it was just a weird amalgamation of flavors.
I can't decide if I hate it or love it, honestly.
I know.
Right.
I know. I know. It dominates everything that you've had before. I mean, no matter what you do, it just dominates everything.
And I'll say this as a rye.
I would say Emily says, I think of it as fennel, not licorice. I would say more of this is more fennel than that, like artificial licorice flavor, which is what it's the same thing I was kind of getting on the Far North Roknar, which was a black licorice, but I think it was coming through as more of an herbal fennel note. And I think I'm getting the same thing here. It's just way more potent on this Polish rye. There is like this slight underlying sweetness to it, and I'm trying to figure out what that is. It's really interesting.
And for us, since we've been a little more focused on all like American and craft stuff, I could kind of tell it wasn't like an American rye.
Yeah,
like it's not. It feels like it's raw. Like it feels like an aggressive, like raw grain rye that I don't know. It just felt like it was coming at you a bit.
Yeah, it's like you're sitting in the fucking field just chewing on rye grain.
But it's almost does it take to make a whiskey?
Yeah, it's almost like slightly caramelized though. It's got a slight sweetness to it. I mean, for all the rawness and the like the pure, just like complete like punch of rye that you get on this, there is like a slight nuance of sweetness to it that actually kind of rounds it out nicely. But yeah, this is one of those where like you smell it, you taste it for the first time. It's nothing like I've ever had before. This is really unique. Yeah, like by first or second sip, I would say, get this fucking thing away from me. And now, now it's growing on me. I'm liking it the more I go back to it.
I think when we did it, I said it was like dill pickle chips. Where I was like, I don't know if I like this. And all of a sudden you're like eating half a bag. Like, the hell happens?
Have you guys ever had fried pickles?
Yes.
If you've had, so picture this is to me as like fried pickles, but it was fried in like a rye flour rather than a regular like a confectioner's flour. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's like you definitely get the rye note to it, but the pickle, the dill, it's all there. But there's like this little kick of like sweetness to it. Man, I don't know if I hate it or love it. I don't know if I hate you guys or love you guys.
And I don't know, but I would guess stainless as well, just from where they were in Europe. And Dave, we are not going to make him drink Merlot.
I have Malort, so
I'm still not making you do it.
I've experienced it wholeheartedly, so it's all good.
So, but no, yeah, that thing was just so aggressive up front with some of the flavors that I usually am not a fan of, but I did find myself going back, and it was weird. And then all of a sudden, I think over time it starts to grow on you and you start to really enjoy it. But it is a handful right away.
It is. It's like no other rye I've tasted before. I mean, you have like the Empire Rye, which is the New York base. It's a side girl you don't dare introduce your folks. Exactly.
It's side girl that likes to dress in black leather and use horse crops,
This is if you took rye. Yeah, this is like if you took rye bread and wrapped it around a fried pickle. It's so unique. I think I'm leaning more towards loving this shit than hating it.
I know.
It was a weird one, but it is one that
it's weird. It's weird, but it's almost like I
kept coming back to it.
Yeah, it's like Pee Wee Herman. It's like it's so weird you kind of love it.
Yeah.
I found myself watching Pee-wee's Big Top. You know, like I was okay with it. I was
It's a weird movie, but you like it that it's so weird that you kind of love it, and that's what this shit is. This is the Pee Wee Herman of rye whiskeys.
I'll be sure to let Gene know that when he's on the show in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We know the right name for it.
Yeah, it's so different. It's like engaging, and I want to keep drinking it. I'm like, I'm gonna savor this. This is so good. Like, I mean, in all honesty, at first sip, I was not sure what was happening in my mouth.
Yeah.
But the more you sip on this, the more nuance you get. There's a little bit of a chocolate to go like on top of that that super heavy rye, the pickle, the dill, chocolate. There's a nice sweetness to it. There's a powdered sugar note to it as well. I mean, it's really. I mean, if there's out of all 5 of these that I've tried tonight, this is the most unique easily. But I think it's really in the best way possible.
Yeah, I was quite to like getting slapped, and you're like, oh, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Like it took you a while to be like, what's happening here?
Yeah,
I didn't
I'm
like
okay with this.
yeah.
It hurts, but in a good way.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think the proof is nice on. It's not overly, it's not overdone on the palate. I mean, you're looking at an 8-year rye whiskey, which is a pretty damn good age for a rye. But if you keep going back, it's you too.
That is fair, Emily. Yeah, that's true.
Very fair, Emily. Yeah, I'm a fan. I like that. I would probably go to that more often than you would think. I mean, when you think of Kentucky ryes and how they're most of those are barely ryes. Oh Jesus, Mike.
Now
Mike
I will say
like,
half
Mike
of it.
Like, yeah, I've done some damage on that bottle.
Half of the bottle has gone out to share with people, but yeah, and I do have a backup.
There you go, Mike.
So, no, that one was neat.
That's good. I would say that's right up there tonight with the ASW sample that I had as far as like my favorite. I mean, 2 completely different whiskeys, but both of them are so unique in their own way that I love those 2. ASW and that Cat's Eye 8-year Polish rye. Wow. Wow. Love it.
Yeah. Oh, hey, that's good. What the heck is that? Yeah. No, I did not do the blend of all of them, Mike and Ben. They questioned if I did the blend of all of them. I did not.
What, of all these 5 that we've had tonight?
We'll typically, when we're doing our show, typically we'll pour a little bit and make like a little 5 whiskey blend. Now, the first time that went south was last week.
I'm going to do that right now. Let's see what happens. I'm going to do this little bit of a blend. I'm just pouring a little bit out of all 5 into my Polish rye. The Polish rye is my base.
But yeah, typically it works out well.
There's my blend, guys. There you go. Right there.
Surprisingly, for me, the Bloody Butcher Red comes through on the nose.
Shit, you're right.
First.
If I blend these all together, the Bloody Butcher corn actually does come through. Wow. Actually, if anyone has any way to get some of these Obtainium bottles, I can get them. So if any of you guys have any connections to get some of these, let me know, because between the light whiskey, this, I don't know if the rye is left or if there's any more of this stuff. But
not any more of the.
Yeah, I would imagine this is unique enough that it flied and went off the shelves. But I've gotten samples enough of the Obtainium stuff. Light whiskey is one of those things that I think a lot of people, they don't know much about. I literally have talked to people that think light whiskey is like whiskey that's like half the calories.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Bud Light.
Yeah,
it's up until a few weeks ago.
It's Bud Light whiskey. Yeah,
yeah. Up until a few weeks ago, you could get the light whiskey, all the Obtainium stuff. Well, most of the Obtainium stuff at acespirits.com, but now they've cut their shipping down to other states substantially.
Yeah.
they're down
But
to
if you know someone
4.
in Minnesota, they can get it. But there was a place in California that also had the obtainium stuff, and I cannot remember the name of it. But they had a few of them.
And
I know,
they ship too.
I know Wisconsin got some
Yes.
obtainium too.
Obtainium's
In
in like
Iowa,
13 states now, and in Florida. And they just, like I said, like Mike said, they sold to California, but the place in California will ship to you.
Yeah.
With that
So
stuff.
if you know somebody in Iowa, it's in Iowa, especially on the outskirts. It's out there.
And I'll tell you
this blend is pretty delicious, guys.
Yeah,
Hey, that's not bad.
Yeah.
It's
nice.
all the it's like the smokiness on the nose, it's the bloody butcher corn on the palate, and then it finishes with the Polish rye kicking you in the nuts. That's good.
Yes, it's in California, Oscar. I will look up what the store was, and I will send the information over to you later.
Very good.
Because it is pretty neat. Now, we have had Jason on here for an hour and a half, and you've already been on a show. So I think it's only fair we let you get back to your normal life. But thank you so much for coming on and just having a few drinks with us and just chatting whiskey in general. I was going to say it's always fun to do that. So.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on. I love coming on different channels and just talking whiskey. And when you said that there was a specific interest in craft whiskey, that's really where I'm kind of, like I said, I'm kind of getting over all these, these crazy releases from CEOs that just want to get in the whiskey game and not really know what whiskey is. And then you have guys like Far North, ASW, Wood Hat, Cat's Eye, that are all doing, and we spoke about Spirits of French Lake. They're all doing stuff the right way and bringing really different differentiation to the whiskey market. I just wish more people had the opportunity to try this stuff and see how good it is.
Yeah.
And we usually tell people you have to know a mule, but mules are out there, and it's a reciprocal thing.
And that's this is our BTEC. We chase the craft stuff.
There may be 2 or 3 other places, like that one. Old 55 isn't too far away from you. They're another young distillery that some of their stuff.
I had their bottle and bond bottle that was actually really good. I'm a huge fan of. It was probably one of the more minty whiskeys I've had, and really different, really delicious. There's some craft whiskeys here in Ohio that I've been latching onto as well. One of them is Noble Cut. They just recently revived a label called Magnolia. They're sourcing from MGP, but they have a very unusual weeded mash bill from MGP that they've sourced that's really good. Okay. So I would say be on the lookout for that one. But yeah, I mean, I am not opposed to trying anything, and you guys know that. So
maybe we should have him on for the Hatfield one.
Oh, for sure. If you guys
have you had any of their stuff?
The Hatfield? No, I have not.
Okay. Well, then we're not going to say anything about it.
It's the first. I'll just tell you, it's the first distillery in Bourbon County since like 1910.
Wow.
And these guys opened it up, but they got a distiller who the owner distilled it, and then they got a new distiller on there, Kelly. She's going to be on our show here in a few weeks, and she's something else, man. She distilled at home in her closet, and that's how she cut her teeth. She's making some damn good whiskey.
Yeah, I mean, people like that, and like we spoke about Alan Bishop before. Those guys are really just encompass themselves in the history of distilling and what they can do with a still. It's pretty incredible. A lot of people, I think, take it for granted. They chase bottles and don't really know exactly what they're getting or where it's coming from, unfortunately. But, those of us that know, like, what's good and what to chase and what's different and what's unique. And I want to thank you guys, my Whiskey Den, for having me on because, when you guys said that you have a focus on craft whiskeys, I love that. So I appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate you coming on because it's, we just like having fun with people in the community and trying to bring more things to people. But sometimes it's good to get someone else's perspective on everything you're tasting. That's kind of.
Yeah,
All right,
I gotta
Jason,
say,
appreciate
still my star of the show is ASW. So I'm gonna be fucking hunting for this hard.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on. And remember, stop in tomorrow night to learn about Distill America with Fred Swanson and Adam Casey. Next Monday is Daniel Whittington and Emma are going to come on. We're going to be talking to them about Crowded Barrel.
Nice.
And if you want stuff for our Crooked Watered Spirits tasting, the 5 samples we're talking about for the 26th, get your orders by the end of the week. It's only $30, but it will be a fun night on the 26th. So thank you, Jason, for coming on and everyone for stopping in. Remember, it's not the size of the den that matters. It's the love of whiskey. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Let's get into it. 1, 2, 3.